On Mother's Day, my daughter handed me a card and made me read it aloud. Roses are red, violets are blue. You're a heavy burden. No one wants you here. Everyone laughed. My name is Grace. I am 74 years old, and that moment was the most profound humiliation of my life. It was a Sunday morning. Sunlight streamed through the living room windows of my daughter Danielle's house, a golden promise for the day. I wore my favorite emerald green dress, the one that always made me feel elegant and put together. In my arms, I carried fresh-cut flowers and a box of sweet treats for my grandchildren, Grandma Grace. The little one shrieked, launching himself at my legs. Their eager hugs filled a hollow place in my heart, and for a single, perfect moment, everything was as it should be. My son-in-law, Michael, offered a curt, dry nod from across the room. Danielle emerged from the kitchen, her smile a tight, perfunctory line that never reached her eyes. "Mom. So glad you made it. We have a special surprise for you." I settled onto the plush sofa, my family encircling me. The grandchildren nestled at my feet, buzzing with anticipation. Danielle retrieved a homemade card from her purse, its pink construction paper adorned with the children's crayon drawings. "It's from all of us, Mom." "Read it out loud so everyone can hear." My hands trembled slightly as I slipped the card from its envelope. How sweet, I thought, my voice warm with affection. I began to read clearly. "Roses are red, violets are." My voice snagged, cracking on the edge of the abyss. The next words hit me like a series of physical blows. "You're a heavy burden. No one wants you here. Your time has passed. It's time for you to go. Signed, your family who can't stand you anymore." A deafening silence swallowed the room for 3 eternal seconds. Then, Michael erupted, a harsh, mocking laugh. Danielle covered her mouth, but her shoulders shook with unmistakable mirth. Even the children, confused but following the adult's lead, began to giggle. "Did you see your face, Mom?" Danielle managed between gasps. "Priceless." "Michael, did you get a picture?" My heart didn't just break, it shattered into 1,000 jagged pieces. Hot tears traced paths through the powder on my wrinkled cheeks. The card fluttered from my numb fingers to the floor. "It's just a joke, Mom," Danielle continued, her voice devoid of any real remorse. "Don't take it so seriously. You've always been so dramatic." Michael stooped to retrieve the card. "Yeah, Grace, we were just playing around. But, you know." He paused, shifting uncomfortably. "Lately, you have been a bit too present. Maybe you should consider other options." "Other options?" I whispered, my voice a frayed thread. "Well, you know," Danielle said, leaning forward as if confiding a secret. "There are some really good senior living communities for people your age. Places where you can be with people like you. You'd be more comfortable there." The phrase senior living echoed in my mind like a death knell. My own children wanted to discard me like yesterday's news, but I thought. My voice was a mere whisper. "I thought I was coming to celebrate Mother's Day with you, and you are, Mom," Michael interjected, his tone condescending. "It's just time to be realistic. You're not young anymore. You need special care, and well, we have our own lives." My eldest grandson, barely 8, approached and took my hand. "Grandma, why are you crying?" Before I could form a word, Danielle pulled him away. "Come here, sweetie. Grandma's fine. She's just being sentimental." I sat there, marooned in an ocean of my own family, feeling more alone than I ever had in my 7 decades. On the day meant to honor my motherhood, my daughter had orchestrated my public shaming, turning me into the punchline of their cruel joke. I rose slowly, my legs unsteady beneath me. I should go." "Okay, Mom." Danielle didn't even rise from her chair. "We'll call you later." I walked to the door, clutching the tattered shreds of my dignity, my world irrevocably broken. That night, in the profound silence of my empty house, I cried until I was hollow. But as the last tear fell, something shifted inside me. The humiliation had scorched away the last of my illusions, awakening a strength that had lain dormant for years. It was time for my family to learn the truth about who Grace really was. The next day, I blocked all their numbers. But first, I needed to retrace the path that led to this devastating moment. I settled into my favorite armchair, the same one where I had nursed Danielle 45 years ago, and let the memories flow like a bittersweet film. It began when I was 29. Danielle's father vanished when she was only 3, leaving nothing but a note on the kitchen table: "I can't do this life. I'm sorry." He didn't even say goodbye to his daughter. I remember holding a sobbing Danielle, whispering, "Daddy had to go far away, my love," while making a silent vow that she would never want for anything, and I kept that promise. I worked double shifts at the textile mill for 15 years, my hands becoming a landscape of calluses from sewing late into the night. Every spare cent was salted away for Danielle's education. When she was 17 and set on nursing school, I sold my mother's jewelry, the only thing of value I owned, without a moment's hesitation. "Mommy, are you sure?" she had asked, her eyes wide. "My love, your future is the most important thing," I'd replied. During her 5 years at university, I cleaned offices on weekends, returning home with my back screaming in protest. But seeing Danielle bent over her textbooks at the dining table made it all worthwhile. The day she graduated, we embraced, tears of pride streaming down my face. "We did it, Mommy," she whispered. "This wouldn't have been possible without you." Then she met Michael. He was polite, ambitious, and seemed to genuinely adore her. When they married, I gave them half the cost of the wedding, $12,000, a sum I had saved for years. "Mom, this is too much," Danielle protested. "Nonsense," I said, beaming. "It's the most important day of your life. You deserve it." When they bought their first home, I provided the down payment, $25,000. It was my entire savings, but seeing their joy filled me with a deep, satisfying warmth. Then the grandchildren arrived. When Danielle returned to work, I became their full-time, unpaid nanny. For 3 years, I walked 6 blocks to their house at 6 every morning. I cooked, cleaned, dressed, bathed, and read to them. "I don't know what we'd do without you, Mom," Danielle would say. "You're an angel." But gradually, the climate changed. Gratitude grew scarce. My suggestions were recast as meddling. When I expressed concern about the youngest's persistent cough, Michael snapped, "Grace, we're the parents here." The first time he spoke to me like that, I stayed silent, chalking it up to my own overstep. Then came the subtle critiques. "Mom, you don't have the energy you used to for the kids." "Grace, I think you mixed up the children's vitamins again. Maybe you should rest more at home." Still, I persisted. 2 years ago, when Michael was laid off, I began sending them $500 a month to help with the mortgage. "It's just temporary," they assured me. Michael found a new job 6 months later, but the payments continued, absorbed into their budget as an expected entitlement. I was the silent safety net. I paid $2,000 for new school computers, $4,000 for car repairs, $8,000 for their kitchen remodel. I became the invisible financier of their comfortable life, increasingly excluded from the family's inner circle. A year ago, I learned of a birthday dinner for Michael from a casual comment by my grandson. Why wasn't I invited? I asked Danielle over the phone. "Oh, Mom, it was just a small, last-minute thing. We thought you'd be bored," but the photos on social media told a different story, a gathering of 20, including all of Michael's family. I was the sole exclusion. That night, I cried silent tears, rationalizing it as an oversight. The oversights became a pattern. Forgotten birthdays. Cancelled lunches. Annoyed glances when I visited unannounced. The final fracture came 3 months ago. I was helping with dinner when I overheard Michael on the patio. "Yeah, my mother-in-law lives alone. She's getting really dependent." "No, not sick, but you know how they are at that age. We're looking at options to move her to a proper place." I stood frozen behind the door. My own son-in-law was discussing my disposal like I was an inconvenient piece of furniture. That night, sleep was impossible. I had given my entire life, my love, my labor, my money, to this family, and I had been reduced to a problem they needed to solve, but they were oblivious to a crucial secret. My mother, before she passed, told me of a family property I inherited at 70, a beachfront condominium in Nassau, rented out for decades, its income accumulating in an account I never touched. Combined with the investments from my childless Aunt Lucille's inheritance, I had nearly $400,000. They saw a poor old woman on a fixed income. They never knew I was the architect of their financial comfort, giving not from surplus, but from love. After the Mother's Day massacre, that love curdled into clear-eyed resolve. That cruel card was my liberation. I stayed up all night, the card burning in my hands. "You're a heavy burden. No one wants you here." But as dawn approached, my grief metamorphosed into something formidable, absolute clarity. I was not the burden. I was the foundation. I retrieved a wooden box from my dresser, untouched for months. Inside lay the truth: deeds, bank statements, investment portfolios. As I reviewed the documents, I made a staggering calculation. Over the past 5 years alone, I had given Danielle and Michael exactly $67,000. They had accepted it as their birthright while their respect for me decayed. The down payment, $25,000. The wedding $12,000. Monthly support $12,000. Computers, car, kitchen, $14,000. Countless small expenses $4,000. Meanwhile, I lived in my modest home, wore my Sunday best green dress, and walked to the store to save gas, but the financial ledger wasn't the real injury. It was the emotional bankruptcy. I remembered my eldest grandson's birthday 6 months prior. I arrived early to help decorate, but Michael opened the door with an irritated sigh. "Grace, the party doesn't start until 3. I thought I could help with the preparations," I offered, my smile faltering. "We don't need help. Danielle has it under control." Over his shoulder, I saw his mother, Brenda, arranging balloons. She had been invited to help. "I can wait outside," I mumbled, humiliated. "Don't be dramatic, Mom," Danielle said, appearing with a dismissive wave. "You can stay, but stay out of the kitchen. You know you get confused with recipes, get confused." Me, who had fed this family for decades, I spent the party perched on a patio chair like a forgotten ornament. I watched Brenda accept compliments for a cake I had partly funded. I was excluded from the family photos. Later, my grandson asked, "Grandma, why were you so quiet today?" "Grandma, Brenda says you're too old for big parties." The words were daggers. Brenda, 3 years my junior, was poisoning my relationship with my own grandchildren. Even then, I kept giving. I kept hoping. Last Christmas, I brought beautifully wrapped, expensive gifts: a bicycle, a tablet, French perfume, a power tool. The children were shooed away from my packages. During the gift exchange, my contributions were lost in the pile, received with generic thanks. My final gift, my grandmother's antique pearl necklace, was handed back to me unopened. "It's pretty, Mom, but I don't wear much jewelry. Maybe save it for the grandchildren." I had dreamed of seeing those heirloom pearls around my daughter's neck, a symbol of our lineage. That night, I held the small velvet box and wept. It wasn't the rejection of the gift, but of the legacy and love it represented. The ultimate betrayal came when I fell ill with a severe flu, my fever spiking to 102. I called Danielle, weak and desperate. "Honey, I can barely walk. Could you bring some soup?" "Mom, we're swamped. Michael's got a project, and I'm on a double shift. Can't you ask a neighbor? You're not a child, you have to learn to take care of yourself. We can't come running every time you get a cold, a cold." She never called back. It was my 82-year-old neighbor, Mrs. Johnson, who brought me soup and ensured I took my medicine. A stranger showed more compassion than my own child, sitting with those bank statements. The painful truth crystallized. I was not the beloved matriarch. I was the family's emotional and financial ATM, valued for my utility, despised for my humanity. That night, I made the hardest, most necessary decision of my life. I opened my laptop and logged into my banking portal. First, I canceled the automatic $500 monthly transfer. Second, I closed the joint savings account. Third, I drafted an email to my lawyer, instructing him to change my will, leaving everything to a foundation for abandoned seniors, with a trust for my grandchildren contingent on a genuine relationship with me. Fourth, I booked a one-way, first-class ticket to Nassau, but before my departure, I would ensure my family understood the magnitude of their loss. On Tuesday morning, I awoke after only 3 hours of sleep, yet I felt more alert and determined than I had in years. I dressed in my most elegant gray suit, applied my makeup with care, and styled my hair into a sophisticated bun. I was preparing for my debut as the woman I truly was. At the bank, my financial advisor, Mr. Henderson, was taken aback. "Mrs. Grace, this is substantial." "Are you certain?" "Completely," I stated, my voice unwavering. "It's my money, and I am reclaiming it." At my lawyer's office, Mr. Franklin pleaded for caution. "Grace, this is irrevocable. Perhaps take a few days." "I've had 74 years to think it over," I replied. The last 5 provided all the clarity I needed. I signed the new documents with a steady hand. At the travel agency, I declared, "A first-class ticket to Nassau for this Friday. It's not a vacation. It's a liberation." Then, I returned home to write the letters. The first was for Danielle. "My dearest Danielle, by the time you read this, I will be en route to Nassau, where I will be living in a property I inherited, one you never knew existed. I have severed all financial support. The monthly stipends are cancelled. The joint account is closed. Do not view this as punishment, but as a long overdue lesson in independence. For decades, I gave you everything, my time, my money, my love. At some point, you began to see me as a burden instead of a blessing. The Mother's Day card was merely the final, cruel confirmation of a truth I had long refused to see. I have changed my will. My estate will now go to those who understand the meaning of generosity. Your children will have access to a trust at 25, but only if they maintain an authentic relationship with me, free from your influence. Do not contact me for money. Do not ask me to return. Do not use my grandchildren to manipulate me. If you ever want a mother back, you will have to prove you value me for who I am, not for what I provide." With finality, Grace. The second was for Michael. "Michael, I welcomed you as the son I never had. You treated me as the mother-in-law you tolerated. I overheard your conversation 3 months ago, discussing my relocation as if I were outdated furniture. What you failed to realize is that my proper place was always within my control. I have a home in Nassau and investments that generate more than your annual salary. For years, I subsidized your lifestyle out of love. You mistook that generosity for weakness, my devotion for dependence. That ends now. You will have to stand on your own 2 feet. I suggest you learn how." Grace. I placed the letters on my coffee table, ready for their discovery. Then I sat in my quiet living room, a genuine smile gracing my lips for the first time in years. It took me 74 years to learn the most vital lesson: you teach people how to treat you by what you accept. For too long, I accepted crumbs, terrified of the emptiness, but I discovered that solitude is far superior to the company of those who diminish you, and now, having learned that, I am not truly alone, I am free. I am going to Nassau.